Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week of class. Just wanted to shoot up a video with an update for the work we'll be doing this week. And basically, the only work that stands in front of you for the week is writing essay number one. Over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about a couple of different aspects of analyzing poetry. We talked about analyzing imagery and symbolism and the experience that the poet is trying to bring to life. And then we talked about structure, diction and syntax, some of the sort of more between the lines aspects of a poem and how it works. And so today, or this week, we're just really kind of putting those things together and drafting essay one. I just want to emphasize a couple of things. So the name of the game here is not just criticism, but response. And response is inherently personal. To that end, not only are you allowed to say I kind of want you to say I. And, also to that end, I would encourage you as you look through the poems that are available for you to write about to, first of all, give them all a read, give them all a listen. Every poem that's there has a audio clip of the person reading the poem themselves, and try to find one and choose the one that seems to speak most to you personally and the one that creates an experience that kind of resonates with you, as opposed to just picking one that you think might be easy to write about. And that is because part of what I'm looking for in this essay is some relationship that you can speak to that you have with the poem and the experience it creates. So this is much less just a straight up sterile analysis of a poem. Part of the reason that you are analyzing the poem is to sort of extrapolate on the experience that it creates that resonates with you. And so that is why I call this a critical response. That is why I speak to the personal elements in the assignment prompt that I've put up. That's also why I've chosen a sample essay that does that and accomplishes that with the poem that we've been talking about up to this point, which is, of course, Paul Laurence Dunbar's Sympathy. In the announcement where this video is posted, I will link to a sample essay that is written about that poem, but speaks to also not just the elements that we've been focusing on, but the personal experience that this person has that relates to the experience being created by the poem. And so I want you to take a look at the prompt and take a look at that essay within the context of everything that I've said and try to speak to that as well. Paul Laurence Dunbar, his poem is really about sort of struggle, feeling trapped, being frustrated by the fact that you're feeling trapped, trying to get to a place that you can even see and that's right there and just somehow out of reach because of the cage. That's the experience that the bird is having in the poem. That is the experience that is symbolized, the human experience that is symbolized by what the bird is doing. And that can be an experience that someone can have for any number of reasons in their life. Uh, I have taught this poem and talked about how some students relate this to some sort of mental illness or mental difficulty, um, some sort of bad mental state where they know that they should you know be happy and perhaps even put on a good face to kind of get through the sad times, but inside are struggling and can't get to where they want to be because of what they're going through personally. Um, I've had other people who speak to addiction. In fact, the person who wrote the sample essay um, spoke to being addicted to drugs and alcohol and how addiction can be a kind of cage that keeps you from getting to where you want to be and causes you self-harm and again it's more of a metaphorical prison. And then there's actually people who might relate this to the experience of literally being locked up, being actually in a prison and knowing what the outside world is like and wanting to get back that and realizing how badly they have harmed themselves through their situation. And you know those kinds of experiences can be related to that poem very effectively. You don't really need to know anything about Paul Laurence Dunbar himself. Paul Laurence Dunbar wrote this poem in like the 1880s. He was the son of two freed slaves, and so he is speaking about when is sympathetic with the bird struggling in the cage. His cage is much more social and political and interpersonal, societal, because he's living at a time where black people were just freed from slavery and yet still having Jim Crow laws put in place to keep them caged. And so the cage he's speaking about is much more of a social and political cage that he's being kept in. And you don't need to know anything about Paul Laurence Dunbar and what he intended the poem to be about in order to read that poem, see the bird in the cage, feel sympathetic toward the bird for whatever reason you might, and then be able to speak to that relationship in an essay. And then you would analyze the essay as a means of extrapolating more further upon that experience, the vicarious experience it creates in you that resonates with whatever it is that you're going for. So that's the name of the game for this essay. Again, check out the sample essay that's been posted. Check out Sympathy again, read the prompt, look through those poems, try to pick one that most speaks to you, and start with that. I don't really need to know anything about who the author is or what they went through or the time and place that this poem was created and why. Yeah, I just want to see you on the page expressing that you have connected to this piece of work in a more meaningful way, and then can dive in between the lines, as it were, of the poem in order to kind of suss out how this poem has worked for you. So that's the name of the game for this essay. If that is a little daunting, or if you're not quite sure that you're getting it, as always, feel free to reach out, jmmurphy at pstcc.edu. I will happily, exchange emails and bounce around ideas. Of course, if you're in the area, if you're in the Magnolia area, come by during office hours or come by during office available time. Shoot me an email if you want to set down a specific appointment time. We can chat over Zoom if we need. But one way or another, if you need help with this, just reach out and let me know. Otherwise, that's all the work that you have that's all the work that you have for you this week is just writing essay one. The due date will be Monday morning, uh, uh, February 12th, and it will be at that point that we start work on essay two. So good luck, write hard, enjoy reading this poetry, and if you need me, let me know.